Hello, hello. I have dear friends on this morning's episode. We have Dan and Jessica of San Diego Urban Timber. And San Diego Urban Timber is San Diego's original local resource, breathing new life into fallen trees and other materials which would otherwise be discarded. Their business is driven through healthy collaborations between the material, their client, and their vision. In the process, they strive to steward their wood to elicit the most out of each piece and transform it into utilitarian artwork, fulfilling the collaborative visions they create with their customer. Their services include custom furniture for residential and commercial space, a full-service workshop, and reclaimed local exotic wood slabs from the heart of San Diego. And they are just so inspiring, so beautiful. I'm sure you all are just going to want to go check them out, check out their Instagram. I mean, what they do is art, and it's art with trees that have fallen, and it's just really, really beautiful. The Design Coven will be making a trip out to San Diego Urban Timber in the near future, so stay tuned for that if you are in the Coven. And if you're not and are an inspiring interior designer, I welcome you to come on out, join the Design Coven, where we learn from interior designers that are seasoned, that have experience. We learn from their failures and, of course, their successes, along with product training with vendors. And we also visit local showrooms, studios, and spaces just like San Diego Urban Timber. And you can sign up for the Design Coven at bewitchingthehome.com. I hope you enjoy this episode. Please send me messages if this is something that you are enjoying. Tell me what your favorite piece was. And I just love hearing from all of you. You're listening to the Holistic Interior Design Business Podcast. This is a podcast that guides you as a new or inspiring independent interior designer navigating your entrepreneurial path. Here, with my over 20 years experience, I will share my holistic approach to design with intention and ancient practices, including feng shui, all incorporating mind, body, and spirit into my design projects. You will also learn from seasoned interior designers as they give strategies and insight of how they built their businesses and continue to work in the field. Together, we will discover supportive trade partners, new ideas, creatives, and inspiring artists from around the world. I am your host, Rachel Lorraine Crawford. Alrighty, welcome. I'm so excited. Today on Bewitching the Home, we have Dan and Jessica of San Diego Urban Timber. And before we get into their story, I'm going to go ahead and set our space by ringing our bell to bring us into the present moment. And then, of course, to light our candle, connecting us with the element of fire, the element that supports creation, because that is what Dan and Jessica are creating on a day-to-day basis. Always beautiful creations from Mother Earth. And I'm going to go ahead and pull us a card. I'm pulling from Moon BB Magic, from Angela Mary Magic, who's been on the show before. I'm just pulling a beautiful tarot card to get us connected here in our space with a beautiful energy of sorts. And I'll read the card right side up. It's the Chariot. This is all about motion, moving forward, going through, being unstoppable, and just taking it and running with it. So it's just like, it's just that forward energy of making stuff happen no matter what, like through the obstacles, through all the things. It's just like, being unstoppable and relentless. All right. So today I am drinking my Paru Blue Chamomile tea. I haven't had it on in a while. I really made this super potent, but it's usually like a lighter blue, but this is like a super dark blue. It's really, really pretty. So I've got some blue chamomile, and Dan and Jessica, what do you nourish yourselves with in the morning? We're coffee drinkers.
Coffee and MCT oil.
Ooh.
A little sugar and cream just to add the decadence in my mornings, and
Uh,
off we go.
Nice. I love it. I love it. I love it. Love it. So tell me, what is home for you, both at the moment or individually, however you want to answer
Mm.
that?
Yeah, I've been reflecting on it a lot lately. Not just the physical structure, which is really important to everybody who inhabits it, or what we call family, um, but a sensation of safety and being able to rest with the people around you and to feel supported. Home has been expanding for me since COVID to include a larger community base. And even in certain ways, like people that aren't even physical, because there have been times lately that the people that you love a lot, you can't see, they're in another state, the quarantine or vaccinated, not vaccinated. And I've noticed that the sensation of being supported, I don't always have to have the physical person around now. I just have to know I belong. It's a sense of belonging. It's been bigger. What about you?
Nice.
It's definitely a lot of that, and then also bringing physical objects into the home recently that have definitely solidified it as a calm and providing space. So like an armature for us to have interactions that feel a little more special and deliberate.
Was there something in particular that you brought into your home that brought that sense?
Actually, we're sitting at it right now. It's a dining table that we. It's like the cobblers who have no shoes. It's something that we've been talking about for a while, but had to be right, and so we finally has landed. So
Oh my God. So this is something you've made.
yeah.
What can you tell me what it is? Like what's it made out of?
Uh,
And I
well,
definitely
it's
want a photo.
it's fine. So it's a combination of some slabs that we've had for over a decade with urban timber, and it's blue gum eucalyptus with this bee's wing figure in it that's pretty fantastic. And it was actually a tree that I milled before Jess and I knew each other, and but Jess fell in love with the wood, and so kind of earmarked a couple of slabs for our table at some point, and then it sort of serendipitously the table needed to be spaced out about 3 inches in order to be the proper width, and this piece of metal that we found in a yard together, sort of just on a Saturday morning, looking for pieces of steel we needed to own. Um, and it just sat there for probably 5 years, and then it just jumped into this table. It's dynamic. So that combined with a repurposed pallet rack, reimagined pallet rack base, and this cool little roadrunner to
You
just
gotta.
like check it out.
Awesome. Oh my gosh. Yeah, you guys are rad. So I remember when used to work at Mixture and I was, selling furniture and all those things at the showroom. And Dan came in with cutting boards made out of avocado wood and chairs and I think a bench and maybe a table. And I just remember seeing these pieces and just falling in love with them and just wanting to touch them. It's like there's just this sensation about your work that it's like you just want to rub on it and you're just like, it's just it feels so good. And that was, I don't even know how long ago that was. That was maybe 09 or 08 or something. But tell me, how did all this come about? Where did the idea, what's the origin of San Diego Urban Timber?
So the origin was I was woodworking at the time, like 2007, and got exposed to working with eucalyptus through local artist Roman DeSalvo. He had done a piece for Caltrans and had milled some things, and we were doing legs for the Museum of Contemporary Art for some desks. And I was blown away because I bought like 10 router bits to do this job because I was sure that the eucalyptus was just going to be a bear to work with. And then after working it seemed fine and it was super beautiful, and I was amazed that more people weren't using it. And so then I started looking around on the freeways locally and saw a lot of trees just getting tossed in the chipper or in a truck headed to the landfill. So I started kind of bugging Caltrans for some trees with limited success, but did manage to open up a few. I call it cracking geodes because it's kind of like you never really know what's inside, but sometimes you have some clues. And then after starting to open up these trees up, I got totally hooked and wanted to know about what was inside all of the local trees. And so I would say 90% of the species that grow around here are interesting, at least, and applicable in some way for designs, whether inside or outside, or for instruments or utensils or something. And so just the potential of all of this resource around us that was being missed, I felt like was just a springboard for this kind of exciting concept that was just emerging at that time. There was a book by Sam Sherrill about it, and then a conference in San Francisco that I went up to just sort of get acquainted with the few who were kind of writing the script on this new industry. And it was just really exciting to be at the front of kind of this movement toward what really makes a whole lot of sense. And through that process, I really came to identify as a wood steward, and as somebody who basically ushers the wood towards its best and highest good when it comes when its end of life happens. So, and that's actually a lot about what our symbol on our shirts is this kind of the tree being represented by the triangle, and then it being on its side and having this kind of finite line of the end of its life, but then actually being circled by this embrace and this stewardship, and then sent up with multiplicity into a new form. So
rad. I had no idea. I was like, I'm so glad that you shared that with me.
It's also an LED symbol. So
It's been a good
2% supernova. When you search that, apparently LED symbol comes up.
That's
Exploring the
hilarious.
meaning.
But that's another episode.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so then what happened? So you were learning about all these things. You saw the wood going into the chipper. What was the next step for you?
Well, basically it was gathering a ton of equipment, because every step along the way, if you want to do more with wood or with bigger wood or with space, you need there's a lot that goes along with it. So support infrastructure was huge, and still continues to be a thing that we have to focus a lot of energy on. I think along the way that our team has grown into this kind of family dynamic that is really unlike a typical workplace, and that really leads to some pretty cool magic happening with the amount of care and respect and intention that our products have. And I think it's kind of like one of those things you feel more than you see, but it definitely, it makes it to where going to work is usually a pleasure, and it's a lifestyle and instead of a job. So that's been really nice, and I'm really grateful for the people who are involved and people who support us, and such as yourself. And
Yeah. So when you were starting, I know you had the boards, you had the chairs. Was there something that sparked like starting in that space versus something else, or was it just an easy way to get things going in practice, or what was the idea behind it?
So coming from an art school background, I definitely was leaning more toward functionality than just making things for the sake of making things. I just didn't feel strongly enough about kind of arbitrary ideas and it felt more rooted in functionality. Nothing against artists. I just didn't like down that road and then took a left-hand turn. So function was always the thing, and then also just looking at the piece of wood and doing what it wanted to do generally. So that's a big part of my job, is just pairing the right wood with the right people and the right situation. And so people need tables to eat at, and they need, coffee tables to drink coffee at, and and then the art becomes the interaction between the functionality and the aesthetics of the wood, and then whatever other materials you're using and its surroundings that it's going to be placed in.
Yeah.
So that's the exciting part, or one of the exciting parts.
Yeah. And when you were doing all of this, was it at the Chula Vista location that you currently have all of the woodworking material or equipment?
It was. Yeah, so we started off in a pretty small shop down near L Street in the 5. And then in the past year and a half, we've kind of expanded into a city-owned property just up the street, which has really allowed us to spread our wings. Now we have 30 chickens and farming and music and ceremony and pizza ovens, and it's like a playground, a permaculture playground, I guess, in a way. So we're really grateful that Chula Vista has given us that opportunity to harness that potential.
Absolutely. And that kind of brings me into Jessica. How did you come into the mix of Dan's world of beauty and wood?
World of Dan. The world of Dan, actually. We're all orbiting around Dan. I had I'm a holistic health practitioner by training, and I had a private practice. And one of the things I was exploring was orgonite, and working with resin. And I was in another relationship at the time, and my boyfriend introduced me to Dan. And thought that this space would be good for doing resin work. And Dan and I met, and I got to talk. I met a creative for the first time that was lining up with a lot of things that I was caring about. And so that's how I got involved. I'm also kind of a jerk because Dan has to use a lot of resin in his in pieces, because urban wood requires resin work. And I was judgy about his work, and I thought we could do it better. If I could learn how to do resin, I could do it better. And so I learned how to do resin, and I feel like I've contributed a lot as far as that goes, and our products. And that's where I came in. So I eventually dropped my practice because it became unreasonable to hold both spaces. And it was also a lot more fun to hang out with Dan during the day, doing anything like getting trees or making furniture, or and also taking on the kids. Dan's got 2 kids, and so they became a bigger part of what we were doing, and we've always included them in the business. So they're a big part of that. It just turned into family really quickly.
And how long ago was that you kind of came on and joined the family?
Yeah, pushed.
Well, yeah, more than joined. I think also sculpted. I mean, Jess interjects color, not just through resin, but just through life experience and invitations to play, and really expanding horizons, and everything just feels more expansive around Jess when she's in a good mood.
I think we can say that everyone's better when they're in a good mood. So how did the whole situation come about with this new property in Chula Vista and getting this expansive space? And tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, life's a journey, right? And we're really fortunate in my previous background, I did a lot of work with counties and with agencies, so I have a familiarity with them. And someone suggested that we contact the development department in Chula Vista because trees are big, and when you start hoarding trees, it's like a situation. It used to wake me up in the middle of the night, freak me out. And so Chula Vista showed up and they offered us a few different properties. And one of the ones is 610 Bay, which you resemble. And, we used to do it as a storage area. They licensed out the space for dry storage, and that was great for us. And then there was a grant that was doing similar stuff that we were doing, and it looked like the grant might die. And so the city helped us get more property just in case the grant did need to die somewhere. We would have the capacity to hold the equipment or what was going on. And the grant didn't die, which is fortunate for the people that were doing it, and fortunate for us also, because the city gave us access to the inside of the building. And that building had been pretty well ransacked by hooligans, I call them. And they had gone in and stripped her of all of her guts and plumbing. And so the city, it's not really an operable building for most uses. But for our use, for the warehouse stuff, it's perfect. And for meeting the public. So what they did is they gave us a vehicle to meet the general public and to expand our business. And we've taken it really seriously. It is a temporary situation, which makes it art in and of itself. We don't hold on super tight, but we're learning to enjoy it and give it everything we have while we have it, and to also be willing to let go when the time comes, and to find out who we are when that happens.
And to trust that there will be another step that will establish itself at that point. I think has been super important, because as we do grow, we are like goldfish, so we do grow to the size of our tank very quickly.
Wow.
And so it's both exciting and then terrifying at the same time, because but it has definitely led us to a clarity and a purposefulness of our mission, because if we don't have that, we're doomed. So just believing in it all the way, 100%, riding that chariot, and that's where we're at right now.
Oh my gosh. So, speaking of your mission, can you share it with all of us?
What is our mission?
Do you remember?
We're supposed to write it down.
Do you remember?
We're supposed to.
I think I kind of touched on my personal thought is really just putting the right wood with the right people, the right practices, and just acknowledging the wood as a material, as a resource, as beauty, as this harnessed time lapse of the past 100 years sometimes, and it's just a piece of our city that we can be proud of and honor. So.
Yeah, and I want to say, I think for me, like really acknowledging this concept of willful blindness, that there's a phenomena that happens that even 85% of an organization can know that something is wrong and not have the courage to do anything about it, and not really just like the human psyche. It gets pretty trippy when it comes to making changes. And aesthetic beauty and beauty is a fascinating junction of mental health and visual clarity. And so one of the things that we do is we dupe people by showing them this ultimate beauty so they can't look away from the real disaster that's going on with these trees that are headed for the landfill. So it's kind of a bait and switch. We just show all this beauty and then we go, surprise, let's do something good about it,
Yeah. So good.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So how many people do you have on the property, and are they all, I know some people are kind of doing their own sort of things, but they're also integrated, and can you share with me like all the little parts and pieces that are happening that you've created this compound of sort?
Well,
maybe 90% of them.
Well, definitely sharers. So that's the thing. I don't think we'd ever make it on Survivor. We would build everybody a house and share all the food, and
Yeah, give away our last meal.
we would do that. So that's the thing, in this sharing journey, that's what's happened is we're really blessed with that sensation that I was talking about with family or home. That's what's shown up, especially after COVID and people's inability to connect in or their ability to connect in. And what's happened is our web has become really clear. Like people that we used to orbit with, we still orbit with. We just orbit with in a more interwoven way. And so part of that is like Carly Ely is down there and Chris Konecki is down there, and we've got our friend Mia who has hardcore sports is down there, and we've got some mushroom cultivation going on, and
Don't forget Billy, jack of all trades,
And
master
Billy-
of all trades.
yeah, we've got a roving office down there where the best and the brightest can check their emails and tell us how to do our business better, which we're always. And there's David who went to farm school down at Wild Willow, and we've got Mudworks coming in, and what we I think require are self-starters. We can't really, like, that's the thing with the guys, that anybody that we work with, we employ people that we want to employ people that don't need us so much. I mean, but that's,
Yeah.
I mean, we're,
Well, yeah, and employees are one thing, and then also the people, the collaborators at 610 have definitely been offered opportunity, but and support, but hopefully coming in with their own direction.
yeah.
And we're our bandwidth is pretty big with our business, and so fitting more direct other people's direction in there is not really what we're about, but definitely providing an armature for them or sharing the armature.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
and resources to make it happen, because I think a lot of people are really used to things being in their way,
Yeah.
and I think when you give them the opportunity to not have things in their way, it sometimes it actually takes convincing people that no,
Yeah.
you actually can do this. Everything is right here. So it's been fun to see the people who take advantage of that,
Yeah.
and really run with it. And then other people, kind of come and go, and maybe hopefully they learn along the way, and or maybe come back at a later date. We actually have a few employees that have gone and come back.
Oh, wow.
And cool, just
Mhm.
gotta test the waters and see, and we really enjoy being around other people who pursue their own passions, and develop their own skill set that can be plugged in ways that aren't just like organized by one source, but it's more of a multifaceted journey. So.
Yeah, I mean, talk about
Yeah.
expansiveness. Jess and Dan, both of you, I mean, just being able to provide a space for people to dream and to go big and to
Yeah.
like just let go, right? And then having some of that be very scary for people, on being like, well, I need to like be told, like I need some parameters, or I need to like have some rules or whatever. And you're kind of just like, let's see what we can do and play.
Yeah, totally. I think that it gets really shocking for people sometimes that they can have whatever they want. Like when they design their furniture, I've seen some of the strongest power people crumble under the ability to create whatever they want, because they're not sure that they're going to want that. They like to be told what they want.
Or
Yeah.
how the size works.
Yeah, but see it in a
When
catalog.
Infinite, possibilities.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, restraint or limitations can actually be very liberating in a way,
Mhm.
because it gives you at least some walls to bounce off of. But yeah, people like the realization, or trying to get people to realize that we really can make you anything you want, is exciting, but also super. Yeah, people aren't used to being like having that option.
Yeah.
So.
Unless they're at Starbucks. You can have whatever you want.
No, I just love this idea, because I was talking to a creative. She was helping me with like writing, right? And like trying to get my mission down for like the membership group and what I'm providing and like what's the goal of this? What are you providing and what do you want to give to, the people that are aspiring to be designers? And part of that is what you guys were just saying here is opening up the door, opening up a portal, opening up a space for people to tap into and for them to be creative and to play with. Especially when I talk to people about like mixing my spirituality and all these mystical, magical things in with like interior design. And I remember talking to people and they would just look at me and be like, you can do that? Like, that's an option? Like that's a job? Like, I'm like, yes. And it's like, yes, you can put your own spin on it. You can do these things that you love and you can make a business that's different from everybody else. And like, that's your superpower. That's where you shine. Like like part of what I'm doing is I really want to show people that there's so many ways to do this and there's not one way. And this is just one option. And it's totally like just in alignment with what you guys are saying. Like, 'cause I just had that conversation yesterday and it was just like, oh my gosh, all these things are coming together and it's just being able to open space for people, right? And to let them be their own sort of journey and to let them be their own guide, but for us to kind of hold that space and say you can do it and support them.
Totally. And having people find that resonance within themselves, I just think is so huge. I mean, that's where my background comes in of having been a counselor or like having spent that time. The relationships are everything. And then it's also tuning into like, I think like the work that you're offering where people can bring more of themselves forward and be connected to more of themselves, then it makes the work easier because you can feel into, do I even like this idea? Like, how am I doing? Am I intimidated by this situation? Like, am I inspired by it? And there's so much information that happens. And man, you're in the relationship business too with the interior design.
Huge.
Massive therapy. Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, I feel like that's one thing that and again, like I've just been developing these relationships with all these people for, over 17, 20 years. And it's like, that's what's kept me going. And that's how I've been able to share and like, again, like met Dan so long ago. And it's like, I've always held that, and it's like always just touching base and connecting and being able to share that with them too. Like the relationships that I built, I want to share that. I want to give back to them because when I first started, nobody did that. Like everybody was so secretive and didn't share, their resources or who they use. And even now, like, designers will come to me like, hey, who do you have for, really rad, reclaimed wood or repurposed or up, whatever. And like my friend Michelle, I think she came out to the space and met up with you guys, Miss Harrison. She's super stoked. Yeah, she's rad. She's one of those people that's like total cheerleader, like so supportive to everybody and so fun to be around and creative.
Meeting her back, it was probably around the time that I met you.
At Hold It.
Hold It, yeah. So that was and went a long time without speaking with her or working with her, but it was really neat. She's always had a real warmth to her, and it's nice to come back around and just like know that people come and go in your life, and that's totally fine. And then trusting when it will return back,
Yeah, it's huge. Oh, I just love it. Okay, so what do you have any rituals or practices that you do to keep you centered, grounded? Anything that you can share with us? I'm always looking for like other people's rituals and like, what do you do? Like, what are your secrets? Like, how can I get back in my body, or how can I be in the present moment, or how do I stay mindful?
Wow, we're wingnuts, dude. And I'm coming from a place where I know about ritual and self-care. And for me, I have women's group. I've got a moon group that I meet with. I've got a couple once a month. And then I've got another female group that I meet with once a week. And sharing and caring in that way is really good for me. And I think COVID, man, we really like that was a massive spring break for us. Like we had so much fun camping. And that we've been back now. We've been working on getting like coming back into being normal people again. And I think
Normal?
coming back into being effective people. I don't know. We're artists. Like, I don't know what that is. We go to bed at night. That's helpful.
Sometimes.
We drink coffee in the morning. We definitely drink coffee in the morning as our ritual. And then, you know, honestly, gathering as a family around a table is massive for us. It's where we can, after dinner, Dan plays chess with one of the boys, or it's a place where we can laugh and talk and give feedback. It's a center point. It's a gathering at the end of the evening. It screams what our value is, and it's funny that we didn't have one for a few years, and we also were out camping and being crazy and like not really rooted at home. So home has been shifting back for us post COVID.
Wow.
So I think that, I mean, like,
Yeah, ritual for me, I feel like is a pretty moving target. I think I was thinking about that question and realizing that I really don't have any like real super consistent ones.
Yeah.
But I do have ones that I that I think about, and that when I'm moving in my best space, it's like I'm cleaning as I go. I'm organizing tools, to taking the extra time to not be frustrated later, and to really think through things all the way to the end to an extent, which can honestly be paralyzing if you're not feeling confident. But I guess that more of a mantra than a ritual. But just really trying to like really grasp the reins and be awake and alive and make moves with confidence and clarity.
Yeah.
That's my spin on the question.
I love
I don't
it.
know how
I
on
love it.
topic it.
No, it's perfect. It's perfect. I mean, it's so different for everybody. And that's the other thing too, is just being able to share all the different practices and things that people do, and that it doesn't have to be rigid, and it doesn't have to be the same thing over and over again, that it can morph and change. And that's part of it too. And being okay with it. And like, just, you know, I think it's just so important to have something to connect with. And I love the idea of coming together at the end of the day. And I think that's so true. And I think also people do ritual, or they do something, you know, that is sort of ritualistic, and don't quite realize it until we sort of speak it out. And, you know, these are things that you were doing, and it's like, oh yeah, that is something that we do. Oh yeah, we do, you know, we do have our coffee, and that in itself is practicing this. So good. Okay. So what's coming up? What's happening here in the near future? What are you working on?
right? Well, if you see the size of the building that we're in now, and I feel that we are growing as an industry to meet that size. Like, it was big for us, funky, weird, and we went into it and put our art and our wood in there and our friends in there, and now it's being asked, I think, of us. We have the vehicle to advance this industry, and we've been really putting it off for a while for a few reasons, because once we grow it, we're responsible for it, and we haven't really known how we wanted to do that, because the traditional business, like you were saying in the back with when you came on, and people were not sharing and they weren't resource supportive, and well, we've been taking a look at doing business with those type of people in order to grow an industry, and it's not felt right for us, but it seemed like the right thing to do. Well, what's happening now is we're organically generating more business-minded people that are in love with what we do and starting to understand us more, and the more that we're being seen, they know how to support. And so they're coming on and contributing in a way that we can now build the bigger industry business, so that we can move more trees, so that we can wake more people up, so that willful blindness thing can get broken down on a larger scale. And I used to say that we come from the future, right? Like, where like 5 years ago, I used to tell people that I'm coming from the future where we recycle trees, where these are not wasted, where this is common practice. And we're stepping into that future now. We see people, people know about resin. They've seen all the resin that they can see. Now they're taking classes with us. They know that urban wood is a thing to use. There's HDTV things on it now. So they're asking us, like, we don't know about it, and they're teaching us about it because they're now educated about it.
Yeah.
And that's a shift. And one of the things that we were always moving toward is not having a sense of competition, because there's so much work to do, right? Like the competitive nature, like feeling competitive or closed off or is not the future. The future is going to be very sharing and expanded, and that's a little intimidating when you're an artist and you know that you're gonna be outgrown in your field, because that's the intention, right? Especially with this material.
But there's a lot of our clients are pushing our envelope, or inviting us to push our envelope.
Yeah.
And that's been really encouraging with some applications that are outside of our typical zone of, you know, tables and chairs and things. So doing more furnishings for outdoor natural playgrounds, or just outdoor communal spaces with large timbers, and exploring some of the species that work for that really well. Now that we're in this for, you know, 15 years, we've seen some of what works and what could be improved upon. And so, you know, it's been fascinating watching some pretty big name clients invite us to do projects that we're not even all the way sure are going to like be a good idea, but they're willing to roll the dice.
Yeah.
And they recognize that we will put our best foot forward and do everything we can do in order to make it right, because we care about not just their project, but about the wood that we're utilizing for it. I mean, there's no such thing as like scrapping it and starting it over. You know, we're gonna like do this thing and do it well. So it's important.
And so how far, or how can you guys do this work or provide this work to anybody anywhere, or are you guys really focused in San Diego? Like, how far are you guys reaching?
Well, so we can technically, but I really put local first. You know, if we get inquiries, we're not marketing to outside of a local audience, but occasionally we do get people who want stuff, and we do ship things occasionally. But there's a lot of people in San Diego, and there's not a lot of people doing what we do. There are a few, but we have a very specific brand
Absolutely.
and way of interacting with our clientele. And so, you know, the people who like us, love us, and the people who don't can go to one of our colleagues. And there's some slight differences, but I think everybody's doing good stuff for the most part. You know, we're such a drop in the bucket that it's actually really nice to be able to refer people over to, like you were saying earlier, with designers. And it's really nice to refer people to somebody else who focuses more on maybe wood from outside of the area, or has a different type of mill or kiln or something like that. So yeah, sharing the resources is awesome. And rather than just giving people a no, we can't do that, we can go like, well, try this other guy, he might be able to help you out, or she might be able to help you out, whatever. So
And I think you're
all the players in town.
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys are so focused on your niche and what you have to provide. And I love that you're so clear about that. And this might just become from experience and trying things out or whatever. But it's so neat to see how clear and focused, and like, you know what you guys want to do. And that is really, really cool.
Thank you.
Of course. I love it. You're like, oh, thanks. Yeah, no, it's huge. I mean, that's a major plus. I mean, it just shows that you're so in tune with it and so in alignment with what you're doing. And I think that that is something to be said, for sure. It's really, really cool. So how can other designers connect with you, find you, see the beauty that you're
Right down
creating
the
in the
5
world?
South. Look for Rachel.
Our website is www.sdurbantimber.com. We genuinely have been so busy focused on getting clear that our website has been the same for, I mean, how young are we in that one? We should go back and look. But the mission's always been the same. Our social media isn't really up. It's not that exciting because we've been focused on building a building or building this other stuff. And
But probably the best way to see examples of our work would be on Instagram or Facebook.
Okay.
But the website shares the vibe and the mission, but it's definitely I think 8 years old or something like that.
Yeah. And can people actually go to the space, or do we need to make an
we'd
appointment?
love people
or
to come down. Yeah.
That's probably the best in order to vibe in.
really
And Saturdays
experience.
are a great time if you've never come in before, to kind of check it out in a more relaxed way. At 610 Bay on Saturdays, 10:30 to 2. Usually there's somebody around except for Tuesdays. We try to hide and catch up on things on Tuesdays. But
That's a ritual.
that is.
We bring the
Yes.
dog down and we have training days with the dogs and shut the gates and pay attention to growing our business. So any day but Tuesday and Sunday, come on down, basically. 10 to 5 on the weekdays.
Sweet.
And then there's classes on the weekends, so sometimes we're just there 7 days a week.
Well, you're doing good things in the world.
Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you again for coming on and sharing all of your magic and everything that you're doing. I've been a fan from the very, very beginning, and just really, really astonished and excited to have you here.
Oh my gosh, and we're big fans of yours. Obviously, we did a tribute.
Yes, and you can
Magic
see that
on the building. So thank you for being one of our guardians. We hold you in high regard. See you every day.
And it's been nice to see you evolve as a practitioner of this kind of unique medley of interests and direction. So, woohoo!
Yeah. Thanks. You've been listening to the Holistic Interior Design Business podcast. If it's one that you have been enjoying, please share with anyone else that you think can benefit from this knowledge, and leave us a 5-star review. That helps us get seen and found by other new and aspiring interior designers. And if you're looking for mentorship, I invite you to join our club here at the Design Coven. It's a bridge between school and real life interior design. We get in much deeper there. We have virtual and in-person events, so everyone is welcome. You don't need to have a design degree to be part of it, just an interest in holistic interior design. I also want to thank our editor, Marcy Ferry, Blake Ferris, for all of her special help with the podcast, our social media posts, newsletter, and lastly, Kinseth Thibodeau, who is our music composer. Until next time, be well, and we will see each other soon.